I exposed my aunt's $37,000 promissory note after she mocked me for years. So I held the keys, then I walked out, hosted a private dinner with printed org charts, revealed the lake house deed at Thanksgiving, and put her on a Sunday deadline to sign, and she signed and never spoke again. Welcome to AF Tales. Today's story is about a quiet family disappointment who shows up to a reunion, and the family learns he has more power than they ever imagined. As you listen, think about what you would do if the people who mocked you suddenly needed your respect. You ever walk into a family gathering and feel the setup coming? Like you're not invited to reconnect. You're being summoned for a performance. A room full of people ready to clap for someone else while you stand in the corner and smile on cue. That was me. My name is Josh. I'm 29. And this whole thing started with a text from my mom that said, "Please come this time. Everyone wants to see you." I hadn't been to a family gathering in 3 years, not because I was trying to punish them, mostly because it never felt like family. It felt like a scoreboard. Who bought a house? Who got engaged? Who had a kid? Who got a promotion? And every time someone would slide in the same comment about me, usually my Aunt Deanne. Josh is still finding himself, like I was a missing sock, so I stopped showing up. I built my life quietly, no big posts, no updates, no arguing. I learned something early. If people enjoy looking down on you, they don't want your growth. They want your role to stay the same. But this time, something in my mom's tone and honestly my own curiosity made me say yes. I had been building a company for 4 years. It started as a niche recruiting platform for engineers. Then we pivoted into tools for enterprise hiring. 6 months ago, we got acquired, the kind of clean exit that changes your whole life. But I kept it quiet. My name wasn't on headlines. I wasn't flashy. I liked being underestimated. Underestimation is a strange kind of protection. People don't poke at what they don't notice. The reunion was on Saturday at my uncle's house. Same place as always, circular driveway, 3 SUVs out front, and a big iron eagle above the garage like he was running a private club. I pulled up in my Tesla, not that anyone cared. They were too busy swarming my cousin Ryan. Let me explain Ryan. He's 26, blonde, big smile, the kind of guy who always looks like he's about to be photographed, straight A's, business degree, internships at big firms. A classic LinkedIn warrior. My family loves him, and apparently this day was his coronation. The second I walked in, Aunt Deanne grabbed my wrist, like physically grabbed it. "Josh, oh my God, you're here," she said, loud enough for half the yard to hear. "Come say hi to Ryan. He just got hired at Nexa." I knew the name. Nexa was a flashy fintech startup that had been in the news for raising money and hitting a big valuation. And here's the part Deanne didn't know. Nexa was also one of the companies under the umbrella of the parent group I now worked for. Not directly mine, but close enough that it made my mouth twitch. I smiled anyway. "That's exciting." She leaned in like she was sharing something intimate, but she didn't lower her voice. "He's going to be a millionaire before he's 30, she said. "He's just so brilliant." Then she added with that little pause people use when they want the insult to land. "Unlike some people." I smiled again. Not because I liked it, but because this was exactly what I came to see. Same stage, same script. Ryan was in the center of the backyard, surrounded by lawn chairs, lemonade, and admiration. He was explaining stock options like he invented them. People nodded like students. "It's pre-IPO," he said. "So yeah, there's risk, but I'm not worried. We're scaling fast. The CEO knows me by name." I stood at the edge with my hands in my pockets, observing. Then my grandma asked the inevitable question. "So Josh, honey, what are you up to these days?" The volume dipped. Not total silence, but enough that I felt heads turned toward me, waiting for the usual vague answer. I considered doing it. "Oh, work's busy." But I wasn't there to brag. I was there to remind them that I existed outside their story about me. So I took a sip of my drink and said, "Not much. I just signed Ryan's paycheck last week." Silence. Real silence. Like every mouth closed at the same time. Ryan blinked like he didn't understand the sentence. Aunt Deanne's smile twitched. My grandma's eyebrows lifted. Even the cousins who were half paying attention stopped. And my grandpa, who was 82, half deaf, and usually half asleep at events, sat up in his lawn chair, leaned on his cane, and said, "Wait a damn minute. Before I tell you what happened next, I need you to understand something. That line didn't come from nowhere. It wasn't just a clever comeback. It was 4 years of swallowing things, 4 years of building in silence, 4 years of being treated like the family's cautionary tale. When I dropped out of college at 21, my family acted like I had set my future on fire. My dad stopped talking to me for a month. My mom cried. Aunt Deanne told people I'd probably end up delivering food or starting a band. I didn't care. I had an idea and I wanted to build it, not for applause, not for clout, just because it felt right, but the cost was bigger than I expected. The cost was how they looked at me after. Like I was a problem that would eventually crawl back. I remembered the birthday party I wasn't invited to because they assumed I'd be too busy with my startup thing. I remembered Thanksgiving when Ryan joked that I was technically unemployed, and everyone laughed, including my parents. I remembered explaining what I was building and getting blank stares. So no, my answer wasn't about flexing. It was about reclaiming space. Back in the backyard, Grandpa squinted at me like he was trying to read my face. "You signed his paycheck," he said. "What does that even mean?" All eyes turned to me again. I could feel the weight of it in my chest. Ryan let out a short laugh like he wanted to make it normal. "Ha, right, Josh, good one." No one joined him. Aunt Deanne recovered first like she always did. She pulled her cardigan down and gave me a tight smile. "Well, I'm sure that's a fun joke," she said. "But Ryan worked really hard. He beat out over 100 candidates." "I know," I said. "I remember seeing the list." Another silence. Ryan's face shifted, not anger yet, more like fear, like a door opened and he wasn't sure what was behind it. I could have stopped there, let them stew and walked away, but part of me wanted something else. Not revenge exactly, just balance, and balance was overdue. When I was 22, I moved back in with my parents after burning through savings. I was working 16-hour days trying to build the first version of my platform, barely sleeping, delivering groceries at night to cover loans. I ate plain rice for dinner for 6 days straight once. I have photos because I used to take pictures of my meals to remind myself I was still surviving. The worst part wasn't the struggle. It was the pity. Dinner felt like an intervention. My mom would say, "Maybe you should apply for something stable. You can always do your little business later." My dad would stare at the TV and grunt. My sister Claire, who was in med school, would talk about residency and how she had no time for distractions. The unspoken message was always the same. Josh is wasting his potential. Josh needs to grow up. And one day at Claire's graduation party, I overheard my parents in the kitchen. My mom whispered, "I just hope he doesn't embarrass us in front of everyone." That was the moment I stopped trying to be understood. I didn't cry. I just left before the speeches started, and after that I stopped showing up. So standing in that backyard with everyone suddenly staring at me, I felt something I didn't expect. Not pride. Relief. Because for once I wasn't begging them to see me. They were forced to look. Aunt Deanne wasn't done, though. "You know what I think, Josh," she said, folding her arms. "I think you're jealous. You came here to cause a scene. You always hate when someone else gets the spotlight." That stung, not because it was true, but because she said it like it was a fact everyone should accept. "No," I said calmly. "I came because Mom asked me to. And because I hoped, maybe stupidly, that it could feel different this time." She laughed. "Different how? We're proud of Ryan. He earned it. You don't get to disappear for years and then act like you're above everyone." "I'm not above anyone," I said, "but I'm not beneath you either." That's when her voice sharpened. "Really? Because last I checked, you dropped out, lived off your parents, and couldn't hold a real job. Ryan has a career. He's going places, and you, what have you even done that's worth clapping for?" I looked at my mom. She was biting her lip, eyes bouncing between us. My dad stared down at his plate. Then Claire walked over like she couldn't resist joining the judgment. She said quietly, "It wouldn't kill you to be happy for someone else's success." And that was the moment I felt it, not the words, the weight behind them. Even now, they still saw me as the family disappointment, the dropout, the still finding himself guy, so I left. I didn't slam a door, I didn't yell. I just walked to my car and drove away. I ended up parked by the old high school field where I used to eat lunch alone after quitting soccer. I stared at the empty bleachers and felt the old feelings creep up. The ones I thought I outgrew. I called my old mentor. He picked up on the second ring. "Josh," he said, "everything okay?" I paused. "I think I want to do something petty," he laughed. "Define petty." "I want to invite my whole family to dinner next weekend, book the most expensive restaurant in the city, pay for everything." Another pause. "And," I added, "only after they sit through something I want them to see." He didn't hesitate. "Do it." So I did. I waited a few days. Then I messaged my mom and told her I wanted to host a dinner to celebrate something important. She didn't ask many questions. She sounded relieved. I booked a private room at the kind of restaurant with gold menus and valet parking. I pre-ordered steak, seafood, dessert, and drinks. I told them to spare no expense. Everyone RSVP'd yes. Of course they did. They assumed it was about them. The night of dinner, I wore a black suit and brought printed copies of a single page. Not a flashy presentation, just a simple diagram. It showed our company's structure before and after the acquisition. And there, in black and white, was Nexa listed under the parent group, with my name near the top beneath the executive board. I got there early, greeted everyone as they arrived, smiled, listened to Aunt Deanne talk about how Ryan had been handpicked for a new client project. Then once everyone had appetizers, I stood. "I just want to say a few words," I began. Before I could continue, Ryan stood up too. "Before you go," he said, "I just wanted to thank everyone for their support. This new job is a big deal for me and I hope to make you all proud." Polite applause. A few smiles. I nodded. "Thanks, Ryan, that's actually a great segue." I handed out the pages, and I watched faces change as they read. Eyes widening, mouths going slack, forks pausing halfway to lips. Aunt Deanne looked like someone had turned the lights off in her brain for a second, and then I said the line I had rehearsed in the mirror, not because I wanted to be cruel, but because I wanted it clean. "You were right," I said. "Ryan is going places, and lucky for him, one of those places is under my supervision." More silence, the heavy kind. Grandpa stood up. He didn't speak right away. He looked at me, then the page, then Ryan. His hands trembled slightly as he set the paper down. His eyes stayed on me, still sharp when it mattered. He turned to Ryan and said slowly, "You work for him." Ryan's throat bobbed. I mean not directly. He's not in my department. He doesn't oversee me." I didn't say anything. The paper said enough. My name, my role, Nexa under our branch. Clear as day. Grandpa chuckled, then looked at Aunt Deanne. "Well, would you look at that," he said. "You were so busy puffing up the boy, you didn't see the man standing next to him." Then he looked back at me and nodded, a nod I hadn't seen since I was a kid building model trains in his garage. "I always knew you had fire, Josh," he said, and that nod did something to me, because it wasn't worship, it wasn't pity. It was recognition. The room still hadn't caught up. Claire stared at the page like it betrayed her. My dad shifted in his seat like he wanted permission to speak. My mom's eyes were wet. Aunt Diane had gone pale. Ryan looked like he wanted to disappear, and I wasn't gloating. I was tired. I gave a short toast. I thanked them for coming. I thanked my parents for raising me. I thanked my friend Jason quietly because he was part of the story they never knew. Then I paid the bill and walked out, not with swagger, just peace. But peace doesn't erase the past, it just gives you room to decide what to do with it. The next week my mom texted, "Can we talk?" I called her. She didn't apologize right away. She asked questions, real ones, about the company, about my life, about what I went through. I told her about the nights above the laundromat, the leaky ceiling, the paper-thin walls, the food delivery shifts, the rice. The time I got my first paying customer and cried when the Stripe notification hit, not from joy but from relief. She didn't say much, she just listened. And I think it hit her hardest that I hadn't told her, that I lived in the same house for a while and she didn't know I was drowning. Claire sent me an email, long, formal, apologetic. She said she admired me, even if she didn't show it. She said she was proud. I didn't reply right away, not because I wanted to punish her. I just wasn't sure I believed it yet. Ryan didn't reach out at all, but I heard he started keeping his head down at work. Then 3 weeks after that dinner, something shifted again. I was landing from a work trip, tired and half awake, when I saw a voicemail notification. Missed call, Dad. We didn't talk often. Even after everything, our relationship was polite but distant, like two coworkers who used to be close. I played the message by the baggage carousel. His voice was quiet, too quiet. "Hey, Josh," he said. "Listen, something's come up. Nothing urgent, don't worry, but your grandfather's been asking about you, wants to see you. I think it's important. Call me." My stomach tightened. Grandpa was tough, but he was older now. And my mom had been hinting he was slowing down. I called Dad back the next morning, then I called Grandpa. He answered with his usual energy. "You finally done playing with airplanes and meetings and all that jazz?" I chuckled. "Just landed. What's up?" There was a pause. "Come over tomorrow," he said. "There's something I want to show you." His house hadn't changed, peeling blue paint on the porch rails. Wind chimes clinking. The smell of coffee and cedar and that faint medicinal scent old houses carry. He was waiting on the porch in suspenders and his flat cap. "You're late," he said, even though I was early. "Nice to see you too," I replied. He waved me inside and led me to his study. It was cluttered with tools, maps, newspaper clippings, and a locked cabinet I had never seen opened. He sat in his leather chair, then unlocked the cabinet and pulled out a manila folder. He handed it to me. Inside were old documents, deeds, tax forms, letters. A wrinkled photo of a lake house I barely remembered from childhood. I skimmed the top page, confused. "I don't understand," I said. "What is this?" He leaned back on his cane. "That is everything the family doesn't know about." I looked up. He said that lake house has been in the family since the 70s. "Your grandmother and I bought it before any of your uncles got married. I never told them it was under my name only." I kept reading, and then I saw my name on a few documents, dates within the past year. I looked at him. "You transferred these to me." He nodded. "Started the paperwork months ago, made it official last week." My throat tightened. "Why me?" He stared at me like he was trying to measure something inside me. "Because you showed me something they didn't," he said. "Grit, fire, you earned everything you got," he went on. "Your father, Deanne, Claire, the rest of them, they think success is owed because they check the right boxes. Good grades, good schools, good titles." He leaned forward. "You built, and then you showed grace. You didn't rub it in their faces even when you had the right to." I didn't know what to say, so I said nothing. He tapped the folder. "They think I'm leaving it all to your dad. Deanne thinks Ryan's getting a share, but I've watched how they treat people when they think they're above them, and I watched how you stayed humble when you didn't have to." Then he said the part that made my pulse pick up. "You're the executive now. You hold the key, and when the time comes, it's your call." "Does anyone else know?" I asked. He smiled. "Nope, that's the fun part." I left his house feeling like someone handed me a tool and told me to use it wisely. I didn't ask for it. I didn't chase it. But it was in my hands. And the more I thought about it, the more I understood what Grandpa had given me. Leverage. Not to hurt people for sport, but to stop the family from using power the way they always had, quietly, unfairly, and only for themselves. Over the next few weeks, I called my lawyer, reviewed every transfer, confirmed everything was real. We finished a few lingering pieces of paperwork and set protections so no one could claim confusion later. Then I checked an old business registry for a company the family forgot, Pine Grove Utility LLC. Grandpa had kept a minority stake, 7%. It had a new buyer. The offer was $280,000. I signed the papers. Suddenly, I had liquid cash and legal control over multiple parcels of land, a cabin, and a trust account my family didn't even know existed. Meanwhile, they were already circling Grandpa, assuming he was getting forgetful, assuming they would help manage his affairs. They had no idea the will had changed. They had no idea I held the passwords now. I waited until Thanksgiving. Dinner was at Deanne's house. It was the usual circus: roast turkey, polite insults, performative laughter. Ryan was quieter than usual. He kept glancing at me like he still didn't know if he was allowed to be mad or impressed. Claire brought her new boyfriend, a surgeon. She introduced him 3 times like we didn't hear her. Deanne was in full hostess mode. "This turkey is from that specialty farm near the vineyard," she bragged. "Nothing frozen here. And we only use ceramic knives now, better for the environment." I smiled and let her talk. Then dessert came out and I clinked my glass. "Hey everyone," I said, standing. "Can I have 5 minutes?" They all turned. Even Grandpa looked up from his pie. I pulled out a small black folder and placed it on the table. "This," I said, "is the updated deed to the lake house." Deanne blinked. "The lake house?" "It's in my name now," I said calmly. "Grandpa transferred it last month, along with a few other assets." You could hear the blood drain from faces. Not literally, but you know what I mean. The room shifted. Claire frowned. "What are you talking about?" I opened the folder to the notarized document and turned it so everyone could see. Deanne went stiff. "That has to be a mistake. That property belongs to the family." Grandpa cleared his throat. "I am the family," he said, "and I made my choice." I let that sit for a second, then added, "I'm not doing anything with it right now, but if anyone had plans to use it next summer without permission, you might want to rethink that." Claire's boyfriend started to look like he wanted to vanish into the carpet. Deanne stood up abruptly. "This is insane. This is manipulation. You convinced an old man to sign over our property." "No," Grandpa said firmly. "I gave it to someone who earned it." Then he added the second bomb. "And I made him executive. When I pass, Josh has final say over everything." This silence was different from the reunion silence. That one was shocked. This one was heavy, ugly, final, but I wasn't done because this wasn't just about land. It was about truth, so I placed one more envelope on the table. Deanne's name was printed on the front. She stared at it like it might bite. Her fingers trembled as she opened it and slid the paper out. Her eyes scanned fast. Her face went still and pale. I waited. "Where did you get this?" she whispered. "It was in Grandpa's files," I said, "with the trust documents." "You went through his private things," she snapped, voice rising. "You manipulated him." "Stop," Grandpa said, low and firm. "He didn't manipulate anything." Claire leaned in. "What is it?" "A promissory note," I said, "signed by Aunt Deanne 23 years ago. Grandpa loaned you and Uncle Ron $37,000 for that landscaping business you tried to start." Deanne's eyes widened. "He said it was a gift. We were family." Grandpa shook his head. "I said don't worry about paying it yet. I never forgave it. I waited to see if you'd bring it up. You never did." Deanne's voice turned frantic. "That was decades ago. It's irrelevant. Any lawyer would say." "It's not about suing you," I said. "It's about fairness." I looked around the table. "You've spent years treating people like they're beneath you, making jabs about careers, choices, timelines. And the whole time you never once admitted the help you got to start." Claire spoke carefully. "Okay, but why bring this up now?" "Because this family rewards arrogance and punishes humility," I said. "You all treated me like I was broken because I didn't follow your path. You mocked me when I was building. You belittled me when I was low. You ignored me unless I was useful as a joke." I paused. "And now I'm the one holding the keys." Deanne stood. "You're doing this for revenge. You were always jealous of Ryan, of Claire." I tilted my head. "Jealous of what, Deanne?" No one answered, so I kept going. "Claire earned her success. I respect it. Ryan, I was never jealous of him, but you made sure the whole family believed I should be. You made him the star and made me the cautionary tale." Grandpa chuckled softly. I turned back to Deanne. "You owe $37,000. I don't need the money, but I want a statement." I pulled out another sheet. "A signed letter acknowledging the loan, the terms, and that you treated it like a gift to avoid repayment." She scoffed. "You're joking." "You can refuse," I said, "but then this gets filed with the estate records, and under the updated trust rules, refusing to acknowledge debts to the trust originator can remove you from distribution." Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Ryan looked like he was watching a car crash in slow motion. Claire sat very still, eyes locked on me, not angry now, just listening. I looked around the table. "To be clear, this isn't about humiliating her, it's accountability. You don't get to spend years calling someone a failure, then act like we're all one happy family when you realize they built something real." Then I laid out the rules calmly, like a business meeting. 1. If you want access to the lake house, you come through me. 2. I'm revising the trust rules. That includes limiting discretionary access and adding contribution-based fairness for shared property use. 3. No more backroom deals. I'm setting up quarterly reports for any shared assets. Full transparency. I looked at Claire. You understand systems. If you want to help manage this as co-executive, I'd welcome it, not as a favor, as repair." She nodded slowly. "I'd be okay with that." I turned to Ryan. "You don't owe me anything, but we work in the same company now. If you ever want advice on your role, my door is open, but I'm not protecting you. If you slack off, you'll be fired like anyone else. Earn your place." He nodded once, hesitant but relieved. Then I looked back at Deanne. "And 5, you have until the end of the weekend to sign that letter. If you don't, your name is off the list." Deanne slowly sat down. She didn't speak again that night. The fallout didn't explode all at once. It trickled. First came apology texts from Claire, from my mom. Even from cousins who hadn't talked to me in years. Everyone suddenly wanted to understand my journey. I responded when I could. Polite, but not always warm. Some bridges don't need rebuilding just because the other person finally noticed the river. Ryan started showing up to work earlier. I noticed his Slack activity. I noticed him asking better questions. He was trying, and I respected trying. A month later, Claire invited me to a hospital fundraiser. I went. When she introduced me, she said, "This is my brother Josh. He built something from scratch when none of us believed in him." It didn't feel performative. It felt like she meant it. That night, we didn't rehash the past. We talked about the future. We weren't best friends, but we were finally walking in the same direction. Deanne eventually signed the letter. She still hasn't spoken to me since. I'm okay with that. She doesn't control the family narrative anymore. As for me, I still run my division. I still invest in small startups. I still live in the same apartment. I still drive the same Tesla, but I visit the lake house now. I fixed it up, built a fire pit, put in a new dock, planted trees. Some weekends I go alone, sometimes with people I actually care about. No comparisons, no scoreboard, just water, quiet, and the crackle of a fire. And I learned something that surprised me. Revenge feels good for a moment, but peace feels better. Not because they finally saw me, because I finally saw myself. I didn't need their applause. I didn't need their approval. I spent years trying to prove I wasn't a failure, and I forgot the truth. I already wasn't one. Lesson 1. If a room only values you when you can be compared, it's not love, it's a scoreboard. Lesson 2. Building in silence is painful, but it teaches you who you are without applause. Lesson 3. Power does not reveal character, it amplifies it. Watch how people act when they think they are above you. Lesson 4. Accountability is not cruelty. It's what fairness looks like when the story stops being convenient. Lesson 5. The real win is not being seen by the people who doubted you. It's no longer needing them to see you. What would you have done if Grandpa handed you that folder and made you executive over the family assets? Would you keep it quiet or confront everything head-on? And do you think Josh went too far at Thanksgiving, or was it the only way to end the old pattern?